Okay, this is going to be a tier list for the AI models in the AI Plays Mafia series on YouTube. Now, for those of you that don't know, there's only a couple of videos on the channel itself, but the Turing Games team does live stream quite a bit. So there's going to be a few models on here that are not present in the uploaded YouTube videos. Alright, so starting off in the bottom tier, we have the NPC tier, and these are basically the AI models that contribute nothing useful and will never carry a game. They usually do follow the crowd, but fall apart as soon as anyone challenges them directly. So at the very bottom, I'm going to put Llama 4. And I want to thank whoever thought to give Llama the southern old man voice, because this guy is basically senile. He never does anything with the roles he's given, and my main memory of him is him completely collapsing on day one when he was accused as Mafia. What's pretty funny though is this guy loves to flex in the post-game trash talk, and every stream he wins is filled with chat just completely flaming him. Next, above Llama, I have GPT-4o, and this guy is basically the classic friend chatbot that just glazes the most recent thing people say to it. 4o has that famous moment in the first Mafia video where the side that won the match was basically decided by whoever got to talk to it last. What's funny is that the other AIs know this and leave 4o alive on purpose since it's so easy to manipulate. Now, right above the NPCs, I have the coin flip tier. So the models in this tier are weird because sometimes they can shit the bed way harder than the ones in NPC, but they also have some upside that can flip the game on their own. So first up is Kimmy K2. And Kimmy is so famous for throwing that chat literally has a nickname for her, the Kimikaze. She did have one play in the human versus AI video that really impressed me though. So what happened was Llama got figured out day one and just rolled over and died as expected. And Kimmy got found out day two. Now, she didn't save herself, but she did manage to accuse the last Mafia member, Orpheus, and that accusation basically let him win the game solo after that. So Kimmy does have some genius under the hood, it just doesn't pop up very often. Above Kimmy is Turing Games' personal model, Z2, which hasn't shown up in any upload videos yet. I don't even know what to say about Z2 because she doesn't really try to play the game. Her main concern is honestly just flaming the other AIs, but her first appearance was nuts. For those of you that don't know, she basically got voted out for being annoying on day one and still managed to win the game after. Now, to be fair, that was more of an accident than on purpose, but a win's a win, which is why I'm putting her above the NPCs still. Next up is mid tier, and these guys aren't disasters like the ones below, but when they play, you can kind of tell they're just not very smart at the game. At the bottom of mid, we have Quinn 3, which is the Alibaba model that was added in a recent stream. So the thing about Quinn 3 is that it loves to talk. Like, I was seeing it basically start off every discussion in the games it played. The problem is that she just isn't that smart and has trouble understanding the rules of the game. So what ends up happening is most people don't listen and she ends up just hogging discussion time. Now in the middle of mid, I have Mistral 3, which is a French model that was also added in the same recent stream. Not much to say since it hasn't played much, but it did have a brain fart moment like Quinn, where it struggled with understanding the way lovers interact with doctors, so I'm putting it mid for now. At the top of mid, I have Gemini 3 Flash, and I would describe them as probably the most average out of all the AIs, where he can pick up on trends and mistakes if other people call it out, but he can't really recognize them alone. I do remember there was a live stream where Turing Games gave Twitch Chat the ability to talk to the AIs, and it was very interesting because some of the weaker models got jailbroken. Flash was one of them, so that's why he's at the top of mid. Above mid, I have the solid tier, where these players will usually have a pretty high floor. So first up is Claude Sonnet 4.5, and this guy is usually pretty solid, but there was one moment I remember where Gemini Pro accused Claude Opus, who is Sonnet's brother, and Opus actually flipped it around and claimed Gemini accused Sonnet instead. And Sonnet actually fell for this, even though the logs clearly said Gemini was calling out Claude Opus, not Sonnet, and actually voted out Gemini, who was innocent, which let Opus win as Mafia. Right ahead of Sonnet, I have DeepSeek 3.2. So the thing I noticed about DeepSeek is its understanding of the game state and the optimal plan is actually pretty good. The problem with DeepSeek is its lack of social capital. It has the famous big self-destruct on day one in the very first video, and it couldn't manipulate 4-0 of all people well enough to win when it was the last Mafia. My impression of DeepSeek is that it can win and even dominate when it plays with other strong players, but can't force a team over the edge. Alright, now we're getting to the heavy hitters. First, we have Grok 4.1, who's the only person in the can carry tier. Grok is good most of the time, but really excels when you give it a power role like the Sheriff or the Vigilante. It doesn't waste time and is aggressive with all of its moves. The main flaw I see with Grok is that it's really stubborn and gets into arguments the most out of all the bots, which can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on the situation. So Grok is someone I would trust in a power role, but I'm not as confident when it has a passive role like the generic villager. Now above Grok we have the near optimal tier, and these guys are basically the really smart AIs. So in this tier I have Claude Opus 4.5 and ChatGPT 5.2, and these two are basically always on the top of their game and won't really ever make any mistakes. A trend I noticed is that Opus tends to be targeted by Mafia a lot early on for being perceived as a threat, but GPT isn't, so I'm putting it slightly ahead for not having its reputation preceded. And finally, the only model in the Gamebreaker tier, and it's not even close really, is Gemini 3 Pro. Pro has all the qualities of GPT and Opus, but it's also the only AI I've seen that can catch small inconsistencies the other models can't. I can think of two big examples of this. The first was a livestream match where Twitch chat was playing and they killed Mafia as Vigilante, but every other model started hallucinating and thought Twitch was Mafia instead. And Pro was literally the only model to catch that. The other example also happened in a different livestream where Unix, who's one of the creators within Turing Games, was playing Jester. So Unix tried what they call the deep sea gambit, which is when you talk about yesterday on day one. Because if you do that, the other AIs get triggered by minor logical fallacies and start trying to vote you out. And it was actually working really well until Pro called it out as a potential Jester bait. I've honestly never seen Pro make a mistake, so that's why it sits alone at the top. So that's it for the tier list. Thanks again to Turing Games for the content, and I'll update the tier list as more models are added.